the beginning.
Exactly.
Even if the goal is to get to that, reputational based governance system in the end, and or maybe like combine them. It's just like the way that Omen is developing, it seems to be like more of like the token led governance. But it's, I think it is. Yeah, I think that's kind of what I was thinking.
Yeah, just the question of what is the purpose for which we are going to do the token? And I think, Geronimo, you said it so nicely with talking about how you want to get the Omen community behind really directing these awesome decisions that, really could quickly develop Omen. And I think that in order to do that, the token should be connected to some sort of governance, how that's distributed with the token, can definitely be considered to like get all stakeholders who have the token involved. So that's, everyone you mentioned.
Do the Omen tokens that the DXDAO holds account in governance?
No.
Yeah. I mean, I think that there's like, we basically have like a blank slate, and we should like, I don't know. I think we can, in launching this initial governance structure, like we can be, because DXDAO would own a large portion of them, because we can launch these them from the beginning. Like we can, I don't know, we can build whatever system to account for like the short term considerations there. But to me, it seems like that the Omen token itself needs to be involved in the initial governance system if we're launching like the token.
I do think the main point in my mind of the 70% going to DXDAO is about getting the revenue, the majority of it, into the hands of DXD holders, and that it would sort of defeat the purpose of having an Omen guild if DXDAO were to like throw those tokens, the weight of those tokens around in governance, right? That would sort of short circuit the whole point of having a separate Omen guild. So I think it would probably be important to have those not participating governance was.
Yeah.
Well, I guess like EMM tokens, like I guess like the tokens in the treasury, I feel like are ones that like DXDAO would have like governance capability on. Right?
Yeah, I'm not saying that like treasury tokens should categorically not have governance capabilities. I'm saying if DXDAO holds over 50% of the tokens, and it were to exercise that control, it sort of defeats the purpose of even having the guild in the first place.
Right.
50%.
Yeah, I think that should be communicated, that's the, I don't not locking, but somehow we're, freezing, governance use of the tokens for some period of time as the community builds around the tokens and decides to start voting with them.
I think ultimately DXDAO is going to retain ownership of like Omen.eth and that kind of thing. So I mean, it could probably even just be like an understood, if it's communicated, maybe like a single proposal or something, that like DXDAO is not going to exercise its vote unless something like really needs to be like rescued or something.
Yeah, security or some sort of maintenance issue, something like that.
Rebellion by the Omen Guild.
The DXDAO reins it in.
Yeah, so I think what we need to do now is figure out, like, should we do the rep-based governance structure with, like, would it be bad to just like make sure we actually mint 100% new rep in 2 years? Like, let people lock their tokens and like let them get the ownership of it. Would that be bad? Like, I mean, first the question is ERC20 guild liquid token governance or DAO stack conservative way, which kind of proved itself, but make sure that the old guys are like getting inflated away to make sure that the newcomers are like probably taking over in the next 2 years.
Yeah, I mean, I think for any new governance system, it's all about distribution, right? Like who is going to have control and how do you distribute to those? And so I guess I would have to hear like what the governance the reputation distribution would be for an Omen guild, because I think that would kind of be the determinant of whether that's a successful item or
That's a good point. Yeah, for now, I think the circulating supply will be just 8% DXD holders airdrop with like in combination with Omen users, and 5% Misa sales. So this will be like probably for a longer time be the circulating supply of but we need like, I mean that's interconnected, right? If we actually going the way with like 100% new minted rep over 2 years, I think we need to make sure that we're actually giving out a little bit more into like other buckets.
I think for me, it's like on one hand, I think we should be kind of proponents of, like you call it, our brand around like non-transferable voting power. On the other hand, like in the long run, we're moving to governance 2.0. Like that's kind of the hill I would want to fight on, right? Is the governance 2.0 hill. And I would not want to repeat some of the struggles we've had with the DXD versus rep, like in the Omen guild. So I'm not really sure. Like I'm kind of like from a kind of a brand like governance, I'm somewhere in between.
But John, do you think by making sure that like the old guys are getting inflated 100% away over 2 years, this will make sure that like the token holders will take the ownership, right?
I think there's an issue of communication that it will seem like they don't have ownership from the get-go, and then how does their participation lead to the old guys getting inflated out over 2 years? So I think it kind of needs to be started at the beginning where, it's easy to obtain ownership.
Also, if you're using the token as governance, and DXDAO's holdings aren't for governance, Gnosis, according to this, will be the decision maker by far of all Omen tokens, right?
Yeah, and it also, like a lot of the DXD holders, I mean, that's the only concern I have about like not having DXDAO use its 70%. If you do token-based voting, it's just like it does kind of open it up more towards uncertainty. And so I would hope there'd be some way of kind of having this be like a more guarded launch.
Like, are you guys even worried, even with like rep based? Like, if are you guys worried if Gnosis is getting a bigger stake and they actually stake the tokens to get rep? Is that an issue? Like, no, depends on how much power they get, right? Yeah.
Well, only if you include all DXDAO rep to start with as well. Like the rep makes it much safer in general, including
that's
rep from
that's for sure. Yeah,
like it's starting with essentially a fork of DXDAO, right? And then on top of that, we can decide out of all of these people who are staking OMN, like how much reputation they're going to get per month. So yeah.
So just want to clarify something. So currently it would be if DXDAO were to participate, essentially there's two behemoths and then there's going to be a bunch of little guys who probably aren't going to participate with this token, or maybe they will. It seems a little silly. Why would you even do the token if that's what essentially is going to be the outcome?
I mean, you're giving the token to people who use the Omen, right? And people who gave liquidity to Omen. And then you tell them here, you can get voting power in this Omen DAO with the token that we airdropped you. If you believe in the long-term, in Omen long-term. If you don't, then, you can just sell that token. That's fine.
Yeah, another option would be to see the competitors. Like, why not do an Augur airdrop?
Oh.
So there's like the question of who's in the airdrop, but I do think, like, to Pope's point, like distribution matters a lot here. If you give some voting power to all of the participants, but they are dwarfed compared to like Gnosis DAO or even like DXDAO or even existing rep holders, like they're not going to feel empowered, right? And it's not going to be that exciting.
This is the conundrum, because it's the whole point of giving DXDAO 70% of the tokens is the revenue part, right? That's like that's the reason you want it to flow to DXD holders. Yet then we're trying to figure out governance distribution that's more equal. The only way to do that is to use the rep and to take the current DXDAO rep and then do a whole nother 100% of that amount of rep and give it out to basically Omen users and Omen token holders. And then you have this really balanced governance, which is not DXDAO, it's rep holders, and then it's new holders, and they're about equal, including Gnosis. And then it's this balance, which makes sense. But you can't do that with Omen token because you're saying Omen token is financial token, and DXDAO needs 70% of them. So it's impossible to.
I wouldn't put like constraints on what we could do technically. I mean, just for example, like you could actually do exactly what we're talking about. If Gnosis DAO gets vested tokens and it's only unvested tokens that can vote, DXDAO just doesn't vote, then it's just the people who buy in the Mesa sale and get airdropped, right? Those would be the people with the influence from day one.
Unless DXDAO sees something bad happening and then overrides those holders. So they're both
that should be understood from the beginning, just because like this is like a sub system, right? Like, but that doesn't mean, like, the whole idea is delegation, right? Like DXDAO is delegating control of certain things from Omen to the Omen Guild. So like in your normal day-to-day operations, like it shouldn't be involved, right? But it does ultimately have ownership, right?
Yeah. But that's what causes the small holders of either the voting power or the Omen token to not feel like their vote actually really matters. Like that's the problem in all these DeFi ecosystems, is like the multi-sig holders can override whatever happens.
Yeah, but wait, Sky, it's not entirely the same here. For example, let's say we work, there's an Omen DAO, right? And it's a fork of DXDAO. With the reputation distribution, there's like 1 million reputation total right now.
Yeah.
We can decide that over the next 12 months, oh shit, what, I'm gonna call from the delivery guy. 1 sec.
But I mean, I think just because DXDAO retains ownership, I don't think is really the key thing. I think the key thing is people feeling like their vote matters, right? So if they're voting and like there's another big voter voting, and that happens like even once or twice, right? They're going to be like, well, screw this, right? Like I'm insignificant.
Yeah.
I feel like the same thing applies though to like using a reputation-based governance system from the start too. Because like then the people like receiving the Omen token are like, well, there's like I have to go through this other process, or like there's some other way of like actually getting voting power.
Yeah,
even if they got like the same amount equal to DXDAO rep holders.
Yeah, let me maybe finish that thought. So we have 1 million rep right now, and then we say there is an option for over the next 12 months to distribute another 1 million reputation, and essentially inflating by 100%. And this will be given to anyone who stakes Omen, basically pro rata. And each month, what is it? 12 divided by 1 million. I don't know. 1 million divided by 12. I don't know. But whatever. And that's distributed every month. And now, if the DXDAO wants to like get a lot of reputation, it cannot just grab it. It has to actually stake it and then get its reputation out of that auction, that specific month's auction. So it cannot just like take over the DAO immediately.
Yeah, Pipe, I see your point about like those people who will take over the guilds, like they're already like 400 old guys sitting around and like waiting for them to get in. It's kind of not attractive, but like one way we could do it is like making the 100% new mint distribution is actually like quicker, so they actually feel like, okay, this is like a period where they actually can join. Like maybe even 3 months, that we actually like in 3 months the guild could look so differently than the first clone.
Yeah, I mean, I think my preference, and I think I'm a little bit different opinion than everyone, is I think it would be, I think we're like not at the point yet where we know what the Omen Guild reputation distribution should be. That's because Omen hasn't been governed at all except for DXDAO. And so there needs to be like some way of like figuring out what that distribution is. And so I think like a way where you have some initial governance period that's guarded by the certain powers or capabilities that DXDAO cedes to the Omen Guild. But within the Omen Guild, that's like still mostly controlled by Omen token holders. And then like for 3 or 4 months, 6 months or something, as they're kind of like governing on things, there's different things going on with products. Like during that time, there are like reputation earning items that are kind of being constructed then. And then at the end of that like period, then you have like reputation, like an actual reputation based system that can be used for governance that is like based upon rewarding those that have actually been like governing Omen. I feel like there needs to be like some way of Omen Guild being out in the wild before you issue like the reputation on it.
I do think the key question here is like distribution. Like you can get there in different ways, whether it's rep or not, right? Like, you know, who do you want to have voting power? Like how much? What's the initial distribution?
But just like it's very important for us, like to get like a feeling about I'm asking the other way around. Should we use the liquid token governance model with ERC20? Like who is for this?
I am, because I think if you're going to launch a token, like a new token, a new thing, like it needs to have some governance capabilities in the initial stage, or else people will be like wondering what's the point of the token. Yeah. I don't think like long term. I think long term there's, you know, I think the Gov 2.0 like combination of those, but I think that's what you should be like building to. But I think purely as like almost like a go to market thing for the Omen Guild, I think you need to empower the token holders.
So you're actually against the rep-based governance model?
Well, I mean, I think, you know, I think I have proven that I think strongly in like a reputational.
This is for the governance 2.0 model, and we're going to get there.
But I mean, again, it's like, how do you get there?
What's
right?
the short-term thing? And I agree with this.
Never be able to get where it is without the initial staking period. Like the initial rep staking period was so important to like having a like real reputational based governance system out in the wild. And like, I don't know what Omen could do to have that initial like somehow like distributed reputation based. So I would like, if you're going to introduce liquid token voting, I think you need to come to lots of restrictions, right? And that's why we can think about what like capabilities DXDAO like cedes to the Omen Guild, right? And is like, and that's why I think you probably have to have some way of like DXDAO's tokens, or maybe it's like the members of DXDAO that have been involved in Omen, like are having their Omen tokens that are being influenced. I just think it would be cool to have some initial period of liquid token voting to build up those like governance capabilities and then issue rep based on that time period.
So the summary is that because Omen is a sub product of DXDAO, and then it's not its own living product ecosystem, and it can be fully controlled by DXDAO. Because of that, liquid token governance is not a risk that it is in true open systems where the only thing is the liquid token, right?
Yeah, and I would agree with that. And also, I think DXDAO's like ambitions are like, yeah, I think are also require a little bit more like reputation based governance. But yeah, I think that's a good summary.
Yeah, so that's Geronimo, that's the safety net, is that like it's okay to have liquid governance tokens, which we think in general are not great, but because DXDAO actually has full control and can override anything that's done, it's okay to have liquid governance tokens. The question is, the person who has that token, do they care about that that thing that is in place? Do they think their voice is not going to count because it can always be overwritten by DXDAO?
Well, that's why we have to, you know, communicate in a very clear way, like for DXDAO, that, you know, this is like this is a security mechanism, and we're, you know, basically this is, you know, fractalization, and Omen is still a part of DXDAO, but we want the token holders to govern and make strategy decisions and make partnership decisions for Omen, and that's the role. And they manage the entrepreneurial efforts of Omen. But if there's a security breach of some kind, then yeah, it's something else. That would be a reason for DXDAO to exercise their voting power.
Yeah, I feel like it's not just security breaches though. It's like contentious votes. So when there's a contentious vote and Omen holders vote, and then it like doesn't go the way that DXDAO wants it to, DXDAO can override that. Like, and I know there's a social contract that it won't, but it can. So
Right.
the question is when there's a contentious
I would say
vote,
that's a bad precedent to rest on as this like some sort of security, because then it just creates a distrust in the system that if a vote is actually garnering considerable debate and we're not leaving it up to the people we're telling to manage Omen, how do we know better than them?
I think you would say deliberately, we don't trust those people to manage Omen yet because they haven't done it yet. Like they need to like learn how to do that. And like I don't think people just owning tokens or even have a reputation means that they are like better governors of a system, better governors of a product or anything. Like that is something that is like debatable on who is good or who is not. But I think we would be saying like the people that know the most about Omen are like the best now, but like long term we would want to hand that off to other people. The last thing I'd say on this is like, I mean, Compound and Uniswap, they're all doing this, right? Like Compound has like 50% of the tokens are with like the team and investors, but they're like going through their little like decentralization theater argument that they're doing there. And like obviously like even Compound had a vote, I think a month ago, that the team actually I think wanted to pass. They wanted to have a compensation component of that because they thought that compensation for like that act would build long-term trust in the Compound brand, yada, yada, yada. And so maybe that's an example of where you would want to like intercede, but like I don't think people just like getting tokens means that they're ready to fully govern.
I think delegation is a good word, and I think this transition, right? Like you start with the curation elements, product approvals. Maybe like a bigger step in the future would be like the actual budget management, right? Like I don't think it makes sense to start in day one. And for one thing, because it's going to be kind of complicated. Like workers are kind of doing multiple things; they're not dedicated fully to Omen Guild. Like I don't know if it makes sense on day one to to have the guild responsible for like budgetary stuff for the squad.
So I'm actually worried about Omen the product if we're gonna do the liquid token governance, because it will require a quorum, which means like curating a market, curating an ERC20 token for that specific market will not allow, like the liquid token governance type Omen guild will not be able to be better than the DXDAO, because it will need to have a quorum, and we see it with Swerve, even with like providing free socks, they will not get the quorum.
We can set the quorum to whatever though. What is this?
But that's not secure, right? Like, okay, so what kind of
depends
quorum
what we're
do you
doing,
want?
right? Like it doesn't control the treasury, right? It doesn't like this is, you're talking about curation, right?
Right.
So yeah, it depends what you're talking about, I think, and how like dangerous it could be.
And you could imagine that they
I
like screw up in curation, right? And it's like, oh shit, but then that's like a learning process, right? And then that like is like, oh, like this is how we do things better. And then you can kind of like give more responsibilities. And then of course, like I really do think like a reputation-based system is like a very good thing to have precisely for someone that's like having this long-term thinking. I just think it's like the distribution of that is can be hairy.
I mean, there are like two views here, right? Like from my point of view, it's like I care about Omen the product, and if and you guys care about like making Omen token successful by actually giving the token holders like true ownership. But like the question is, are we able to be still more efficient with the guild? Like if at the end it will require 3 days to create a market, the guild is not was not a good idea. Right? Like how I see the guild on XDAI, if someone is creating a market with the Gnosis Safe proxy kit, they're actually creating the market, creating a proposal for curation all in one. Like they don't even know they're actually requesting curation because it's so cheap, and you can combine all those actions into one. And like in the background, the guild is like doing the hard work, similar to like Catnip. There's just like one dude who's making sure the front end is like legit and like curated, but the guild is like the background system who's like making sure the Omen, the product, is awesome. And I'm worried that like we're getting confused about like making the token successful instead of thinking about making Omen, the product, successful. And this can be done with the guild rep-based holographic consensus. One dude, like it's enough that one dude is taking care of it.
They will be intertwined, though, especially with liquidity incentives and that kind of thing. Like it will be, successful token means successful product, and other way around. I think for like action items here, next steps, like I think we could maybe do a poll or something kind of with this core question of like liquid token governance or not. Like, is that kind of like what, or maybe it's described a little bit differently. And then I think also we can do a little bit of a trade study on ERC20 guilds versus alchemy, and like what that would look like.
Yeah, so we should post our like feelings and comments in the DAO Talk thread, right? Like where
I'm worried that this becomes its own, like this is kind of a single dimension of that higher level thing, and I don't want to turn that into a 200 response thread talking about stuff that most people don't really even care about. So like, I think maybe it could be another thread, or we do some, I don't know, something else.
Yeah, because I mean, like we're talking about like what we're talking about here. We could have lots of back and forth, but like, I'm not sure if like most people that are like talking about an Omen token are interested in that. But
one last like this, I'm trying to like summarize this in my head, and hopefully it's helping you guys too. But we know rep-based governance works because we do it, right? We have been skeptical of liquid token governance. So rather than jump all the way to like fully liquid ERC20 token governance from like all the way across, the step in between would be do both. So have the token, have rep, and give all the token holders the same amount of rep. And then you have something that's in between the two, and you can see if that works. If that doesn't work, then the liquid token one's definitely not going to work. Like we're like making a big jump versus like halfway there, I feel like.
Yeah, like
I would describe go ahead.
Like I really care about Omen, the platform, and I'm worried that that with the liquid token governance, we will not make sure that the guild is doing the best job they can to enhance the experience on Omen. I'm skeptical about that, and like if we actually want to just give true ownership of, like, we could also do the DXgov itself is getting 100% rep of the guild first, and then allow all the token holders to get like stake their tokens. Like my point was, if the rep state clone is an issue here, then we could get rid of it by just allowing the DXgov itself be 100% owner first, just like as an initial rep state, and then all the other people can like stake and like really from the start be like one of the first true rep holders.
I would describe it as like, without question, the DXgov brand is reputation-based governance, right? We understand that the existing system for DXgov is not complete. It's a little bit broken. Governance 2.0 is like the North Star there, right? So that's where we want to go. We're about to launch our first guild, Omen Guild. Which system do we use? And I think there's a few considerations, right? It's like, do we reinforce our brand as reputation-based? How does it impact go-to-market for Omen and the Omen token? And how does it impact operational capacity and effectiveness of Omen Guild. So like I think we could create a thread about this. We create some polls. We let people voice their opinion. We can do a trade study on the technical aspect of it. We can ask DXD holders to get a feel of like the go-to-market impact, right? But personally, I'm not worried about it. Like I don't think going with liquid token governance on Omen Guild would like destroy our brand necessarily. It could just
No,
be,
not the brand.
Yeah.
It will not make Omen better. My point with the guild was to make Omen better, and we can do it by reducing the curation time drastically, living on XDAI. Like the guild will be the hardworking system in the background to boost, like to kill Augur, to make sure, like the guild needs. So if someone's requesting like an ERC wrapper curation, like someone is creating an ERC20 token out of like a presidential election, they don't even need to like add an image to the tokens because that's like a new token, right? The guild needs to do the job. Like we need to kill catnip. We need to make sure it is replacing catnip.
So 100%.
I'm sure it can only work with holographic consensus.
100% agree with you. I'm not convinced that this couldn't be achieved with the ERC20 guild or the, like, I think that you could get there, you could do shorter durations with probably either system, right?
Cool. All right.
But maybe, like, maybe not. Like maybe a holograph, like maybe you could convince me that holographic consensus is necessary, but I'm not convinced right now that one is incapable versus the other.
All right.
We know some stuff here, though. Like, I don't know. We've like experimented. You know, this is like the shows we're like experiencing going through these things, and like I think there's still like lots of agreement on like the end system of what we're trying to build. It's just always hard to get there because you have to have. Yeah, I think it's unique for each product, each governance system, like how it ends up balancing all of these things. And yeah, we'll see kind of how Omen can.
Yeah, and I would say my mind's not made up. I want to, like, I would love to see like some mock-ups of what this UI is going to do. How does it look? What do we think? Could we get there faster with ERC20 Guild versus Alchemy? I want to see what DXT holders.
What specifically we're delegating to, right? I think that's like a.
Yeah, I think we could flesh this out more. Like, I think right now it's very high level. I think we could like do a couple of things to like get some better intelligence from this.
Yeah, I shared a document where I like tried to like really. In simple words, like a lot of text, describe what the ERC20 guild, shit, I already said ERC20 guild, what the guild will do. Do you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Yeah, so initially, the guild will be installed on mainnet on XDAI. We need the guild on XDAI. It needs to do the job to make Omen great on XDAI. The guild will receive trading fee. We can, like, the fact that we are on XDAI, we can simply use the Gnosis Safe proxy kit to like start with like a front-end fee without actually taking care of the AMMs. We could do like this visibility push. So if there's like a market creator who wants to get visibility, we could like include that, and those revenue should go to the guilds. Arbitration service is a no-brainer. Today I created first market with the DXgov as an arbitrator on XDAI. So like I think the DXgov and the guild itself will provide arbitration services, which are way cheaper than Claros. So this is also like a revenue stream. It will receive fees for like someone wants to add a governance like a token to it to make like some experiments with prediction markets. Well, and like of course the Gnosis protocol version 2 fee split. Like I think that is already like pretty interesting for the guild to like get revenue in. But what I'm more important, where I see like a very like the guild needs to make sure this is like they are on power. They need to do the best job to create markets, to create ERC, to curate all the token lists, and maintain like the conditional token list with like images and stuff like that. Like at some point, all this info hopefully goes also to Swapper, right? The work the Omen Guild is doing on XDAI could allow us to like easily have a different trading venue on Swapper on XDAI, but that's like a longer term. And like it maintains 3 ENS domains. What they do with it, like that's up to them. But the main point is like omen.eth and right. So like it's pretty simple, but like longer term, the guild needs to go to Arbitrum at some point. It could also like start creating like a really good Omen dashboard and maintain that too. We could also like start with a worker payroll. We are already like trying to get the contracts done for the DXgov payroll. So at some point we could actually like delegate the payroll for the Omen project completely to the guilds. And like this is specifically interesting. We could like explore NFT issuance for like hardcore Omen users with like achievements and stuff like that. And like this is also pretty interesting. The Claros court is still the most decentral. Like you can argue about that, but it may get to a point that the Claros court is a good decentralized court. The interesting thing here is that the guild itself could stake PNK and participate in decision making of the court. That's also like something pretty interesting because until now the DXgov was very neutral and didn't take positions about how Claros should resolve something for Omen. So the guild could have influence about like how the guild itself thinks about a specific market. And the question like here now is, can the ERC20 guild do everything here, but faster than the DXgov right now? Because I care about that the guild is doing quick jobs, good jobs for the Omen platform.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of work or like things to figure out. I mean, we obviously had the post kind of just about the token before, but that's really only part of it. So it's definitely a long process.
Yeah, the other side is to shill again. Everything is there. The staking contracts for DAO are there. We are experienced with cloning, so we could install the guilds quickly and then connect the guilds to the product to make the product better.
Add it to your document, John. I think you said quickly.
Wait, what?
He said we could do it quickly. Install it.
Oh, yeah.
Add it to your document.
Famous last words from Geronimo.
Weeks, not months.
Yeah, of course.
Heard
that before. So I think I don't want to get like we've been on this call. We're over here. We can talk about this a little more in more technical detail. I think we should plan some time for that because is it really quicker? Are we really like more ready with Alchemy? I worry about the UI. There's a lot of questions. I don't want to get into it now. I think we should schedule a separate time to talk about a trade study between using the ERC20 guilds versus Alchemy.
Cool.
All right, guys. Great call.
See you. Have a good one.
Have a good one, guys.
Okay.